So I'm not saying you're going to meet John Legend and be his guitar consultant or get a job at Paramount or drive in the presidential campaign motorcade. But who knows what's going to be on your path if you follow that feeling? Who knows? You're listening to the I Have Dreams, Dammit podcast, a podcast about the realities of pursuing dreams. I'm your host, Lisa Murray, and let's go.
Live from Los Angeles, California, this is the Lisa Murray Show, and with your host, Lisa Murray.
The day I felt like I really started living.
I don't have enough money to start this business.
I'm so tired. I hate it. I'm working all the time.
I'm not inspired when I'm worried about money.
Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
I'm so sick of all these positive people talking about dreams. What about money? Like, how am I supposed to get the money?
What it's really about, it's about you pursuing what makes you come alive. It's about continually connecting with that energy and just keep doing that. Keep going towards that. That's what it's about. I need to give up. There's too many obstacles. I can't take this shit anymore. Ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for.
It feels really good to be my own boss.
I have dreams, damn it! Hey guys, it's Lisa. How are you doing? Okay, so last week's show that I recorded that I told you I love so much, I do love it. I don't know if I can perform surgery on it because what happened was I had one title in mind, but I spoke about 3 solid different topics and I wove them all together. Okay, the message today that I really felt drawn to getting out to you, and then I'll deal with that other hybrid 3 topics woven together craziness episode for next week maybe. But okay, so but the topic I felt very drawn to talking about today is I really want, and it was a feeling, okay? I felt a strong feeling to talk to you about this, is for you to follow your feeling. You know, a lot of people ask me, either they say they don't have dreams, or they say they don't really know what they would do or what the first steps are, or maybe they'll start to follow it for a while, and then they'll kind of drift off the path and kind of get in their head about it. Like, there's already so many podcasts out there. I mean, why should I start my podcast? You know, there's already so many, and it would get lost. And, you know, oh, why would I even have a Facebook page? I heard that Facebook pages are kind of going out right now. So, you know, it's just people do this, and I do this. So that's why I recognize it so well. But the thing is that what has gone wrong when that happens is you stop following the feeling. Because the feeling will lead us into the cave that we fear to enter. That's ultimately what's going on. There's a little bit of like wanting to remain comfortable. And if you are in a life where you can, that's actually a massive disadvantage to you as an overall thing, as a spirit, as a, you know, spirit that came to earth to learn. That's a major disadvantage for you if you're able to be comfortable. Some people who are forced into situations through tragedy, through trauma, through, I don't know, like my situation, I would not have chosen this ever. Maybe this is the only way we can do it, is by being forced to do it, because just our physical bodies being on earth, we seek out comfort and safety. And so I get it. So by saying follow that feeling, what I'm talking about is that feeling that keeps coming up even though it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't fit in with the rest of your life, and it probably even irritates you a little bit because you're like, why do I keep feeling like I want to start a fashion blog? Like, why? There's so many of them and I'm too old, and why would I want to do that? That's stupid. You know, and like all that kind of stuff. So in today's episode, I had this really strong feeling to talk to you guys about. I have some British friends in the UK, and they're telling me that it sounds funny when we say you guys. I say you guys all the time. I don't know what is happening to me, but I say it all the time. So anyways, if it's funny to the UK peeps, that's great. Okay, you guys. I guess I'm trying to say it with a British accent. Okay, you guys. Oh, that sounds nice. Let's go. I have the worst accents. I'm sorry. I cannot do accents. But I can imitate people, but I can't imitate accents unless it's a specific person. Okay, enough with that. So in today's episode, I really want to talk to you guys, about following that feeling. And I thought about titling this Follow the Feeling, but the feeling sounds kind of like dramatic, like what's the feeling that's in me? And then we overthink it and then it's all gone to shit. So I say follow that feeling because I think we all know what that feeling is because we've had it our whole lives. That feeling. Know Your Truth is the episode that this resonates most with. And that is like your truth is sort of like that same thing of that feeling inside of you. It comes from the same place. And when we don't honor that, I think that's when we get sick and that's when things go wrong in our lives. However, having said that, I do also want to say sometimes things happen to us that we are not consciously doing and may have to do with something else with life. Nobody knows for sure every single thing going on with life. But I do notice in myself and in people I've known that there is a correlation between when I don't listen to my truth and I, have an accident or I get sick. Like that's just what's up. That's the way it is. So, but then again, I don't want to say there's something that I did that made this big, huge thing happen. There's another layer of reality always that's the unknown. Have you guys ever heard of the Johari window? I just said you guys again. Have you ever heard of the Johari window? So I remember this from nonverbal communication classes in college. There's 4 panes to the window. So there's one of them is what I know to be true about myself, but nobody else knows. It's just my truth. Okay? Then there's another box that's what you know to be true about me and what I know to be true about me. It's like our shared truth. Like my name is Lisa. I have a podcast. I have 3 dogs. Maybe you don't know all that stuff about me, but whatever our shared truth is. So there's that box. Then there's another box where only you know about me that I don't know. Your own thoughts about me or something you see in me that I don't see in myself. And then the 4th box is the unknown. And it's whatever. It's God. It's the universe. But I don't know it and you don't know it. And so whenever I'm talking about anything, I just want to remind you that think about this box because I'm always embracing the unknown. I don't ever want to get to a point where I think I know everything because I think that that's when I'll know the least. I don't think anybody should strive for that because life is too vast and it's too, maybe you could have some kind of feeling of knowing when you have a meditative spiritual experience or a death experience. But anyways, I'm digressing. The point is that if I say something like when we don't listen to that feeling, we get sick, I just want to remind you that I know that there's also another level to all this that might not be part of that. But for the sake of this conversation, let's now move past the unknown and let's go into the known. So there's this feeling that you've had your whole life, whatever it is. And at different times, it's got different vibe to it. So whenever I try to figure out my career, if I would have been able to follow my head, if my path was clear, like my dad was an electrical engineer, for instance, and he knew that he wanted to be an engineer or at least in that field from the time he was in high school, okay? I knew I wanted to be an actress from the time I was in kindergarten because I remember I used to hang around with Julie Johnson and we used to play at her house and I used to play all these characters and I loved how scared they would get when I'd play the mean stepmom or how much fun they would have when I'd play the fun sister. I loved playing characters and I didn't know what that meant to be an actress. I just knew that whatever it was I was doing, the adults were calling it an actress. I loved singing and dancing. I would sing Singing in the Rain and Me and My Shadow with me and my brother. And I would do the whole choreography and he would follow me and do everything that I wanted him to do. So he was the perfect sidekick, and my brother Michael, who passed away. So we would do these little skits and shows for my grandparents at the Valley Ho Hotel, Ramada Inn in Scottsdale, Arizona, when they would come visit us from Chicago. And I loved it. It was pure joy for me. And I never had any doubts in my mind ever that that's what I was probably going to do, even if I didn't voice it to anybody. To me, I always knew that whatever I ended up doing was going to be okay because it was going to involve that kind of energy, like a playfulness, story. Like we'd come up with stories for little people. Did any of you guys play little people? Like Weeble Wobbles, but they also had other little people. And so they're probably like choking hazards now, so nobody plays with them. But they were like these little wooden or plastic people. And we would create little stories. You know, we'd go, okay, today, and we'd have like little, my mom was an Avon lady at one point, and we'd have like Avon jewelry boxes as their bed, and the little cotton was their mattress, you know, the cotton inside the box. And I just loved whenever I saw a new container or a new bottle or a new something, I would try to think, oh, what can I use the lid for? Oh, I know what it is. It's a stool for her vanity. So she can sit down here and put her makeup on or, you know, whatever. So I loved it. I mean, that was my life. That's what I thought about all the time. I loved it. So when I was in high school, and I did talk about this a little bit in that long woven together episode that I'm going to try to figure out how to spread apart or keep it together or whatever. But when I was in high school, we were supposed to meet with guidance counselors, and they're supposed to help us figure out what we were going to do. And when I told them that I wanted to be an actress, they didn't know what to do with that, because I think they also looked at me like, you're kind of shy and you're kind of awkward. No. I wasn't like, hello, I want to be an actress. Can you help me get into a theater company? You know, I didn't do that. I was just like me. And I was kind of quiet and I was kind of weird. I would come to life when I was around people that I trusted and that I liked and that I thought were funny or whatever. But like I was pretty much a quiet person. I know. Swung the pendulum to the other side now, but that's because I realized that I'm here and I want to talk to my other shy, interesting people out there that are trying to figure out their way through life and through their dreams and to their things that they're meant to do, whatever that is. So I was quiet and I didn't know how to like kiss butt. I didn't know any of that kind of stuff. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. So when they asked me and they were like, well, okay, but what do you want to do for work? And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I didn't have any support at home. You know, my dad's an electrical engineer. My mom didn't really get it. Like nobody that I knew got it at all. They were just like, what do you want to do? And I just kind of sensed that they, you know, I think probably early on they were like, that's you just being weird. And so I knew from an early age, never to really talk about it. And I wish I wouldn't have done that, to be honest with you. Like if I could go back in time, I would push this acting thing. I would push it more from grade school through high school. I would just keep pushing it. But everything happens for a reason and everything happens as it should. So, but I'm just saying if I could do something different, that's something I would do differently, because that is the same. You know, when you're pulling a thread and you're trying to figure out, like there's a whole tangled mess and you're trying to figure out where the thread goes. And when I pull on it here now as an adult, it pulls back to those moments. And I realize in all those moments that I push down my truth because somebody around me didn't get it are the very things that take me on these other journeys of sort of like living these illusions that I think, well, let me just give this a try because my mom and dad probably will be happier if I do this other thing, you know, whatever. So when I was in high school, thank God I signed up for an acting class. I don't even know how I did it. I don't even remember. I probably had a friend that did, and I just wanted to be with my friend. So I signed up for an acting class, and I really liked it. The teacher was kind of out of it. I don't know what's going on with her, but now that I'm an adult, I kind of like want to find her because I feel like I relate more now. Like, I totally get it. I don't know what you were going through, but oh my God, you're my sister, you know? But, you know, as a high schooler, we were like, where is she? But she was always gone, or she was just kind of out of it. And then the student helpers or whatever, they kind of like took over the class. It was a weird class, but it worked for me. Whenever there's chaos, it always works for me. I seem to work the best in chaotic environments. But anyways, okay, so in the acting class, we would act, and I knew I could like make people laugh, or I could make them think or whatever. And it always scared me and took me out of my comfort zone and all that kind of stuff. And I was always invigorated afterwards. But what I didn't know is that I was good at giving people feedback. And I really liked that. So when they would do their thing, because I took it very seriously and I was very responsible. I always started with what I liked about what they did, what was good. And I really thought about it. I didn't just like come up with a lie. I really thought about for real, like what is really good about what they're doing. I was really good at giving feedback and I really liked doing that. And everyone would come up to me afterwards and go, thank you so much for that. And I'm like, you're welcome. Even my teacher was like, Lisa, that was really good. That was really insightful. And I realized I could bring that level of feedback each week, each performance, each person, even like totally different kind of performance. I could still bring that. And I thought, what is it that I'm doing? Because I really like this. I'm good at it and I'm helping people and that makes me feel good. And so someone said, well, you should be a director. And I thought, oh, okay. Like I never know what the words are for what, when I was younger. I didn't know what the words were for what I wanted to do. I just like, well, okay, whatever. But what I did know was the feeling. I knew the feeling. And the feeling, I was going towards that feeling. And so then fast forward to college and I took some writing classes and my writing teacher, I had one teacher in particular that I think I've mentioned him before in the podcast, but he you could tell he totally loved like Mark Twain. Like he had the curly mustache thing. He wore a 3-piece suit with a vest with a clock in a brass clock on a chain that he had in his front pocket and he would take it out and that's how he would look at the time. I know I should have known I was in trouble, but he didn't care about contemporary bullshit, jokes or excuses or any of that kind of stuff. And he would just give me like these harshest grades on my papers. And I thought, I'm like a really good writer. Why doesn't he know that? But after a while, I was like, look, he's not bending. He's not, no matter how much I try, I'm getting really bad, grades. So I would go in and talk to him and he'd say, yeah, it wasn't really a very good paper. There's a lot of things you did wrong, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good idea. Like he told it to me so truthfully. It wasn't mean, but it was so truthfully. And like, instead of being like all like, blowing sunshine up my bum, I'm trying not to swear on this podcast, but it's hard for me because I like to swear. But, instead of trying to blow sunshine up my woo-woo, he told it to me truthfully. And that's how people grow, not in a mean way. He didn't have mean intentions. And so I said, well, how do I do this? Walk me through each thing because I don't even know what you're talking about. And so he did. We started meeting after class like a couple times a week. And he started explaining each thing to me like, this is what this means. This is what this means. This is how you're supposed to do it. And so I would rewrite it. Oh, and that's the other thing he said. He goes, if you rewrite it, he would regrade me. So that gave me incentive. Instead of just being like, well, too bad that's your grade. That wouldn't have taught me anything, And the goal is to teach me, not to grade me. The grades are only to see whether or not what they're doing is working, or you're receiving it. So anyways, I really started working with him. And then I realized like, oh, I totally want to be a writer. That's what I want to do. I want to write. I really want to write. So I'm like, okay, I want to write screenplays and I'm going to figure out how to do that. So I got a book, Following the Feeling. I want to direct people and I want to act because I love acting. Acting was starting to fade away because I was getting more heady. I was in college and I was starting to like have all these jobs where, you need to talk and you need to think. And I was getting more heady. And even though throughout the years, thank God, I would always take an acting class or audition for some theater thing or something, like I always kept acting in my life. But meanwhile, I really love filming. Like I love cameras. I love old cameras. And I had a collection of old cameras and old movie cameras, 8mm and 16mm, I love. I would go to thrift stores and garage sales and I'd always look for them because I thought they were so magical and incredible. Like I just loved old cameras. So I started studying filmmaking. Do you love going to farm stands and buying fresh from the farm produce? Do you have to pull over on road trips to pet a cow? No? Okay, maybe that last part's just me. Regardless, we can all agree on our love for all things agriculture. And how about art? Don't you love watching films about artists, painters, singers, dancers, musicians? Coming in September is the Ag and Art Film Festival in Vacaville, California. And they are open for entries. So if you have a film, a narrative, a documentary, a short, or a feature, if you're a student or if you're a pro, this is your chance to show your film to the world. And by the world, I mean Vacaville, California. But still, it's going to be awesome. Visit agandartfilmfestival.com for more information, and you can submit your film exclusively on filmfreeway.com. But the thing that's gotten me through everything that I've done is that I've followed my feeling. And I had a really strong feeling that I wanted to work for a movie studio. And I was living in Arizona, and I was applying for every freaking movie studio job that they had, like anything. I didn't even know what I was applying for at some points. Because they have certain they did back then, job finding boards that are just for like entertainment industry. And so I was like, oh my God, they were like practically describing me to a T when they were listing the job description. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally me. And so I constantly applied for like a year. And I think I had one interview with a motion picture agent at one of the top agencies. And, oh God, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. And the lady that interviewed me was not the agent. It was a person that worked with the agent. And they go, they're like, on paper, you're perfect for this job. But after I drove to LA for this interview, she didn't know that. I think I had a mailbox out there at that time. So she didn't know that I had driven out there. So the interview was great. And at the end, she goes, you're great. You're perfect. And everything on paper is perfect. But you're too nice. This agent will chew you up and spit you out. And I was just sitting there feeling so crushed. I was like, what? Like, I'm finally perfect for this situation. And then, she's going to say I'm too nice. And so I go, I'm not actually that nice. I started saying crazy stuff. I go, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. I can handle all kinds of crazy stuff. And she was like kind of laughing. She's like, oh, that's good. I like that. I'm like, seriously, I understand like crazy people and I know how to work with them. And she just, still like, oh yeah, I think, you're too nice or something like that. It was so strange. I'm like, what? But anyways, so breadcrumbs. And eventually I got called for a job at Paramount Pictures because I didn't even know what I was applying for. I don't know if you've gone through this, but when you're like looking for a job, you get to the point where you're like, I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to just submit my freaking resume because I'm sick of this. So it was, what was it called? Box office sales. And if you work at a movie studio, you probably know what that is. But if you don't work at a movie studio, you think box office sales is like the person who you buy the tickets from when you go to the movie theater, right? So I thought, oh, maybe they have a movie theater on the lot at Paramount Pictures in Hollywood. I'm like, oh, I can do that. It's a leg in. I can do that and then I'll move into other areas. So I applied for the job. I applied for everything at that time. So I got a call and I came in and I did the interview and she was like, this is great. Now we just have you test on some computer tests and, do you have time for that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did like Microsoft Word and Excel and something else, a couple other things. And then afterwards, I can't remember if it was a callback. I feel like it all happened in the same day. So I went back into the waiting room and then she came in and talked to me again. She goes, you scored really high on your Excel test. And I'm like, I did? Because I only used Excel. I self-taught myself and I only used it really for my own stuff like budgets or, to-do lists. I mean, I really just did whatever with it. And when I want to figure something out, I follow the feeling and I learn it. I follow that feeling of wanting to know it so that I can use it. And then I teach myself that. If I were to take a class in it, I probably would have learned nothing just because unless I'm in the mode of needing to know it or wanting to learn it, I don't really retain it so it doesn't stay with me. And also I have to use it. I can't just want to know it. I have to also then use it right away and often for it to stay in me. Just like a language. Tech is a language. And if you don't go to France for a month and speak French, you're only going to end up at the end of a year of French going, La porte, je m'appelle Lisa. It's stupid. You're only going to know certain sentences. But okay. So she goes, you scored really high on the Excel test. Is there a reason why you applied for box office sales? And I was like, oh my God, I was so nervous because I was like, I actually don't even know what it is. And I was going to say some bullshit. And then finally I just go, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't even know what the job is. I just want to work at Paramount so bad. And she goes, okay. And she goes, yeah. And so she explained to me the job. And she goes, I actually totally don't know what it is either, but I know that you work with the distribution team. And the distribution team is what basically tracks box office sales, when a movie's released over the weekend. And that's their Christmas. People who work in retail have to work like all crazy right before Christmas. Well, for a movie studio, the distribution team is the one who's all hands on deck the weekend of a big movie, big opening movie. So box office sales is just, collecting the reports from all the different movie theaters and just projections and all that it's very mathematical. But so she said, well, one of the executives that just came over from DreamWorks is actually, he needs an assistant. Would you want to meet with him? And also a dream of mine was to work at DreamWorks, and they very rarely posted jobs. And I applied for whatever they posted because I really wanted to work for DreamWorks. DreamWorks was like so much more along the lines of what I wanted to do. It was more production and artist focused and artist friendly and just everything. And the campus is beautiful, which I went to later. But anyways, so DreamWorks was bought out by Paramount. And that was around the time of Shrek and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of which Shrek it was. But so Paramount bought out DreamWorks. So some people still stayed at the DreamWorks campus. They still have they call it a campus, I think. Beautiful. I mean, it's green and it's just lovely. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm in my car and there's a guy in the parking lot. Big, huge parking lot. Nobody around. It's nice and quiet. Every now and then an occasional car. And this guy's got this rickety old cart and he keeps going back and forth by my window. And I'm like, should I move or should I just stay here? I don't know. I'm just going to stay here. So anyways, I know I'm going on this whole long journey and whatever, but I'm just telling you, these are the feelings. These are the feelings. I always follow that feeling. So, I don't always do it, but when I do, great things come of it. Okay. So, so she said, would you want to meet with him? And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Yes. I met with the executive and he was great. He was wonderful. And he's great. He goes, okay, so when do you want to start? And I go, whenever you want me. He goes, you can start on Monday if you want. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he just picked up the phone while I was sitting there and he called the lady that I interviewed with in HR and he goes, yeah, so let's draw up the papers. Let's just get Lisa in here. And she's like, okay. I was like, oh my God, 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 oh my God. I finally got a job at Paramount. Holy shit. I wasn't still in Arizona then, though. I have to tell you, there was some other stuff that happened in between then. I had actually moved to Burbank. I had a tiny little apartment. I paid $500 a month for it. It was a studio apartment behind a garage at a house in Burbank. And I worked at a record label, and that's where I met Dapo, who does the music for this podcast. But, anyways, that's a whole nother story, and I will tell you that. That's like an amazing story. And that's when I went on tour with them, and I did it for like marketing compliance. But anyways, that's a whole nother story for another episode. But Paramount Pictures was like my dream job. That was my favorite thing. Even though I was an assistant, I didn't care. The person I worked for was nice. The group of people I worked with, all from DreamWorks, were amazing. There were still some people left there from Paramount that I also loved. It was just, oh my gosh, it was such a good place. And I knew that I had bigger dreams or that something more was calling me even when I was there, that feeling didn't go away. That feeling that I'm supposed to be in the movies, I'm supposed to be writing the movies, I'm supposed to be somehow a part of the production, never went away. It was still there. And a matter of fact, from my office, it was a beautiful office. It was in the Marathon building. I mean, Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg, Brad Pitt, like everybody would just come up to the office up there because my boss was president of distribution and I was a backup assistant for him. And then there was the head of sales and then his assistant. Both of the three of the top assistants were me and then the other person who was the assistant to the president and then the assistant to the head of sales, and I was the assistant to the head of operations. And they were great. It was a great place to work and I really loved it. And the gentleman that was head of sales, Don Harris, he's one of the people that passed away in the last few years in the middle of all this cluster death. I really liked him. He thought I was funny and he liked me. He liked Dapo. Like he was just so supportive of us. And I just feel like he should have never, he's one of those people that should have never died. Like you just feel like, what? Because he loved his wife and his daughters and he now has all these grandchildren. And it just pains me to think that he's not here. But anyways, so at that job though, it was a really strong, like great feeling to be there. But from my beautiful office, I had this huge wall of windows and I could look, just looking at, I think I was on the third floor, and look over and see the Hollywood sign. It was right there. And then right straight down on the lot was where the actors would come to audition for roles in different TV shows. And I would look down there and I would just like lose myself. And I was like, I am supposed to be there. I'm supposed to be there. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. But I do believe everything happens for a reason. And the feeling that led me there was an important one. I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be there through that whole time. And like, I really felt like I'm glad that I was there too, because I mean, aside from all the people that I met and everything, but that's when I had a cancer scare. And my doctor said that it was cervical cancer, but there was 2 different kinds and I had to have a surgery for it. And then I had to go to an oncologist and have another surgery. And then that was it. Like everything was fine. I didn't have any major problems. I just had to see him for like a year. And every time I'd go into that doctor's office, you know, all the women there were dying or near death or facing death. And so it was really a big wake-up call to me to really follow my spirit. And so right after one of the first surgeries that I had, I realized the whole mind-body connection thing and not honoring my creativity. So it was good that I was at Paramount because I had really good insurance and stability and everything else. And I was able to get through that time of my life. But after the first surgery, that's when I shot my Free Hugs in Hollywood video. And that is what, you know, that got, it's crazy. Like they were having a free hugs movement at the time. And everybody was doing these free hugs videos like in Berlin and everywhere. And so I looked and thought, oh, there's none in Hollywood. Let me do one in Hollywood. So I got some friends together and we shot it. I edited it and put it up on YouTube. And then Yahoo featured it on the homepage at Christmas time. And it was just like everything blew up. Like all these things happened. I got all these opportunities. I was interviewed on a bunch of places, on radio shows and whatever. And one of the things that happened that I was really excited about was that a writer contacted me and wanted to do a story about me making this video and submit it for the Chicken Soup for the Soul, the Manifestation edition. So I think Christina Brooks, I'm going to put a link to the book in the show notes for today's show. So if you want to look at that one, it's a little short story. It just talks about what I just said right here. It's just basically the inspiration of doing that, because it was really about manifesting something positive and doing something. That was a feeling that I had inside. And that's what I'm talking about. That's today's topic, is that feeling. What is that feeling in your life? That feeling in my life was to get a job at Paramount. Another feeling was to start bringing creativity back into my life. Even though I had this corporate-y kind of job, I was in a beautiful place and I had great friends and I loved being there. But you know, at the same time, I wasn't being creative in terms of writing stories or acting or filming. So I went out and did the Free Hugs in Hollywood thing. And then I also started my YouTube channel at that time. That I started, blogging basically. And we were one of the first few people doing it. It was nothing like what YouTube is now. It was literally like a bunch of weirdos who were making videos of themselves. And the news people, if they even did talk about it, would make fun of it. Like, oh, look at this weird place that people are using the internet for. They're making videos and YouTube, and they're like, whatever. And that's what YouTube was supposed to be about. You, the person at home with the computer, you can put yourself on the tube, and now it's like a million other things, and also YouTube, but still, I love YouTube. So a lot can happen when you follow that feeling. A lot can happen. Like I said, working at the record label, that's how I met Dapo. And to this day, I'm still with Dapo. Dapo and I work very well together. He helps me with the music for this podcast. I mean, when I say, oh, I want a certain vibe, he totally can create it in no time. He's just such a musical genius. He actually was the guitar consultant to John Legend for La La Land. And that was an amazing opportunity too. And I went with him every day. And I remember the first time I was on the set for that, I thought, this is going to win some big awards, just because I didn't even know anything about it. And this is before it came out, but I could just tell what the director was doing and the sets and everything. I was like, there's some vision behind this. Like, this is crazy. But I got to meet Damien, the director. He was great. I looked crazy because it was right after everybody died. And so I was like, oh my God. But from a universe point of view, that was so in my life at the perfect time, because I was almost completely wiped off the face of the earth. And then here's this musical about Los Angeles and jazz and all these things I love. And I'm just like, what? And Ryan Gosling was really sweet. And Dapo actually is one of the musicians performing it's a really quick scene. It's like in a red room kind of thing. I mean, it seemed longer when they were shooting it, but then, when they edit it. And then even for John Legend, because his primary instrument is the piano, so he would work with Dapo every day and just kind of get his guitar chops down. I mean, imagine that. John Legend got his guitar chops from Dapo. And Dapo's a great instructor. And so they would go to his house and they would do this several times a week. And then on set, John would call out to Dapo, hey, Dapo, how does that look? John's really sweet. And I can say John's really sweet because he's been to my house before, you guys. So, I'm going to name drop. It's funny because someone said, you never tell anybody, the experiences that you've had in Hollywood. Someone just said that to me recently. And they're like, it's actually really impressive. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm just not, I feel awkward, name dropping. It's such a weird thing. But, okay, so I am telling you that story. And then another time before that, we know an artist that used to be signed to him, and we had a release kind of private party for an album that she and Dapo did together for Christmas songs. And John Legend is on one of the songs. So Dapo, okay, it starts with, now I'm going down a different rabbit hole. So Dapo, one of Dapo's very first album placements was a song called Quickly that he wrote with Frank Ocean and Dapo, and it's on John Legend's album Evolver. And so that was the first John Legend thing. Then years later, yes, Dapo's worked with Frank Ocean, which he wasn't Frank Ocean back in the day. Frank Ocean's more like a name, his artist name. So then John came over to our house for this Christmas release music thing. Well, he came over to the house first, and so he recorded his duet with Stacy Barth, the artist that Dapo worked with and that I worked with. And so he recorded Baby It's Cold Outside with Stacy, and that was great in our studio. And then when we were releasing the album, we had the head of Motown, Ethiopia, who is what an amazing woman. A bunch of the Motown people there, and that's where Stacy was signed through. And then John and his manager, and I had my friend Jerry from the winery in Northern California. He came down, and he had his wine there, and it was amazing. And then I think there's a picture of Jerry with John and Jerry's friend Nomi. She's also there because she came down to help with Jerry. And so it was just a really great, amazing experience. But anyways, fast forward. So Dapo was sort of the guitar consultant for John Legend on La La Land. And that was great. That was a great experience. And that was right after everybody died in my life. So I look like a crazy mess. I've been wanting to post the pictures, but then I'm like, oh my God, I need like a Photoshop expert to completely make me look like a different person because I look so nutty. And it's not like I'm too far away from that right now, but I'm just saying, like, whoa, you can tell I was going through some shit. So, anyways, blah, blah, blah. Follow the feeling, follow the feeling, follow the feeling, follow the feeling. The feeling will get you to where you're meant to be. And it may not get you where it makes sense. It may take you to some very scary places. Matter of fact, I think it absolutely will. It will take you to some places you don't want to go, but you need to go through that. I mean, use some discernment. I don't want to like lead you in the wrong way, but I'm saying like the feeling isn't always going to lead you to like all cheery, positive things. Sometimes it leads you to something that's deeper that you need to experience. And I don't think you should be afraid of that. And I just went so far down the John Legend Dapo rabbit hole and the Paramount Pictures job rabbit hole that I feel like I've lost a little bit of my train of thought. And that's the other thing. If you follow the feeling, sometimes that's what happens. But eventually the feeling will come back and you'll be fine. And then sometimes I'll listen to episodes that I put up that I thought, I don't know if this is really that clear, but this is what came out of me and I'm just going to post it. I mean, I edit it, but then I post it. And then I listen to it later and go, oh my God, I was breaking it down. What the heck? Why did I even like doubt this? This is like the best episode ever. So maybe this isn't that one, but it might also be. But the point is, like, I've had these really crazy experiences, okay? My life has been riddled with really insane situations that people go, oh my God, your life is so, like, you have so many experiences. And I do. I've driven in the presidential motorcade. I've driven one of the cars. I've not ridden in it. I've actually driven. In the last debate between Bush and John Kerry, George Bush and John Kerry in Tempe, Arizona, a friend of mine, a friend through a friend, but she's also a friend of mine, worked with the Clinton Gore campaign. So she called me and she asked me, would you be willing to drive John Kerry's wife and her friends from the airport in Scottsdale, to the debate. And I'm like, okay, they had to do a full background check on me and everything. Anyways, I ended up driving on the whole thing. Like, that's crazy. And they had bomb sniffing dogs and I was on the tarmac in the Scottsdale airport. And then they landed and they all got in the car and they were all talking about all this political stuff in the back. And I was like sobbing, as I was driving, because all the way driving up the freeway, there were people clapping and holding up signs and just, there was such an energy around the presidential vibe that it's not like that for anything else. Like, I've been around some really big Hollywood premieres and big, huge Hollywood stars and all that kind of stuff. And that's big and it feels really exciting. But the presidential energy is on another level from that. And it's like, it's amazing. It's like really powerful. So that was a completely cool experience. And that's one of my weird experiences in following the feeling. I'm here to support you. If you have any questions or if you just want to talk or whatever, you can always send me a message on ihavedreamsdammit.com, or you can send me a message on ihavedreamsdammit@gmail.com. You can send me a message on the Instagram, which is, what is it called on Instagram? Oh yeah, I have dreams, damn it. By the way, make sure you follow me on Instagram because I'm going to post a lot of stuff on there. And let's see where else. Oh, on Twitter, it's Dream Dammit, because I have dreams, damn it was too long. So Dream Dammit is the Twitter handle. And then Facebook, it's I Have Dreams Dammit. And yeah, just come check it out. Check out the website. I always put the show notes. Anything that I've mentioned in the show will be in there as a link or as a video you can watch or a song you can listen to, book you can read, all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll put a couple pictures from the set from La La Land that I took while we were there. I'll do that. And maybe I'll post the hot mess picture of me and Damien, the director of La La Land. Oh my God. And I took the pictures of Dapo with Ryan Gosling, so I'll put those in there also. So when he's looking into the camera, he's actually looking at me going, wow, who's that girl behind the camera? Because she seems like she's pretty amazing. I wonder if she's going to have like this really incredible podcast and then she's going to get back into acting and then we're going to have a scene together and she's just going to win an Oscar and that's all there is to it. That's what I saw when I looked at his face through the camera. But, everybody's going to see what they're going to see. So I'm not saying you're going to meet John Legend and be his guitar consultant or get a job at Paramount or drive in the presidential campaign motorcade. But who knows what's going to be on your path if you follow that feeling? Who knows? Who knows? And I've got a million more stories just like this of things that have happened for me that are just so crazy because I followed the feeling. So like the feeling recently was like, oh, hey, start a film festival. And I'm like, I love going to film festivals, but I've never in my mind thought, oh, I should start a film festival ever until last year. And I'm like, I should start a film festival. What? And then Tracy Adley, who was with the Valley Film Festival, who I interviewed, I think it's in episode 2. She was like, you can totally do it. You can totally do it. If she didn't say that, sometimes we have these little angels that sort of push us in that direction too. And had she not been there, had she not said that, I don't think I would have done it. But knowing that I had her, it really helped me. I was like, you know what, if I have any questions, I can just send her a message in the middle of the night, which I did. Thank you, Tracy. But, you just don't know where your path's going to take you if you don't follow that feeling, because it's the unknown. It's the Johari window box of the unknown. I never know what's going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen when I applied for the box office position at Paramount. I just tried. And you're never going to know unless you try. I really think our own magical journey, though, is through the feeling. Because whenever I try to live by my head, I don't know. The results aren't as good. They're weird. I don't know how to describe it, but I might get some things that are kind of cool if I try to do everything by my head. Oh, I did this, I made this decision, and then I went over here with this networking group, and I met this person. All those kinds of things are cool, and sometimes those things have paid off to be something amazing. But almost every single time I followed the feeling, I have a better vibe about it. I have a better story to tell you about what happened with that. And serendipity and all that kind of stuff comes into play. And I feel like it's almost like my unique journey is able to happen by following that feeling. My unique opportunities that are so for me. And, I'm going to tell you guys about what Sky Life is. Sky Girl Productions, Sky Girl Picks, Sky Girl Sew Me Marketing Agency. These are all my companies. Sky Girl, Sky Girl, Sky Girl, Sky Life, Sky Life, Sky Life. There's a whole story about that, and I'm going to get into that in a future episode. But that's what the feeling is leading you to, is your Sky Life, which is the life that's for you. The life that is for you specifically. So I just really, really feel a strong feeling to tell you to follow your feeling. And that's my feeling, is to tell you that. And your job is to do it. All right. Well, hope you guys have a great week. And yeah, follow the feeling. Take care.